Hey guys, Mark here from Rtings.com, and today we're reviewing the Sony MDR-1000X. The MDR-1000X are great wireless headphones with slightly better noise cancellation than the Bose Quiet Comfort 35s. This makes them the best noise cancelling over-ear headphones that we've tested so far in terms of active isolation, but they're not without their flaws. When we measured them, we noticed that they had a few issues when playing audio wirelessly. That made their sound quality a bit inconsistent, but before we talk about that, let's check out what's in the box. So despite being in a fairly large packaging, there's nothing really out of the ordinary in the MDR-1000X's box. Inside, you have your carrying case and the headphones. You have a micro USB charging cable. You have a 1.8 to 1.8 audio cable with no inline remote, since all the controls can be found on the headphones themselves. You have your instruction manuals and your legal notices, and that's pretty much it for the box. Now for the carrying case. Inside, you have the MDR-1000X, a dedicated spot for your airline adapter, and on the back of the carrying case, you have a little pouch to keep all your accessories and cables, but it's not always practical since stuff can fall out. It makes the case a bit wonky, and there's enough space, so it's probably best if you just keep it on the inside. Now, design-wise, what stands out the most about the MDR-1000X is their build quality. Sony put a lot of care into crafting these headphones, and it shows. They have a sleek and high-end feel to them, a little bit of weight, a nice textured finish for the ear cups, and a unique-looking headband design that's flexible, yet still pretty sturdy. They're easily on par with the solid build quality of the ZIC 3.0s and the luxurious feel of the Oppo PM3s. They're also quite comfortable. They don't put a lot of pressure around your ears once you have them on, but they're not as well padded as the QC35s or as comfortable as the PM3s. As you can see, the padding on the Sonys is slightly stiffer than the QC35s or the PM3s. The ear cups are also slightly shallow, despite being quite thick. And as I mentioned earlier, they're a bit heavy, which is usually a good indication for the build quality, but it also means that they're going to be bulky and slightly unstable, so they're not the ideal headphones to go out running with or to say take to the gym. On the upside, they have a fairly decent touch-sensitive control scheme. Sliding your fingers left and right skips tracks. Up and down controls the volume, and you can double tap to play, pause, or take calls. They even have a unique hand gesture that if you cover the right ear cup with your palm, it would significantly reduce whatever you're listening to so that you can pay attention to your surroundings. It's a bit gimmicky, but depending on the situation, it could be useful, say if you're at the airport and need to listen to whatever announcement is being said. Now let's talk about the sound quality with Sam.
The sound quality of the MDR-1000X is pretty decent and above average, but we experienced a couple of issues with them in the treble range when using them wirelessly, which we're going to discuss later in this video. In terms of frequency response though, they have a bass that would extend down to 10 Hz if you can get a good seal with them. But at the same time, it is slightly hyped, especially in the high bass region, which is going to make the sound noticeably boomy. Their mid-range is also very good, but again, it shows a bit of a tilt towards the bass range. This is going to make the sound slightly muddy by favoring the lower frequencies and pushing the vocals and lead instruments slightly to the back of the mix. The treble on the Sonys, when connected wirelessly, is virtually flat up to 10 kHz. But above 10K, it shows a steep roll-off, which is going to take some of the air and brilliance out of the sound. Looking at the frequency response consistency graph, you can actually see that the Sonys are very consistent up to 600 Hz. Now I have to mention that we measured the low end of our over and on-ear headphones on 5 human subjects 5 times each. And in the graph, in the bass range, each line represents 1 human subject. So considering that these are closed-back headphones, their bass consistency is actually quite impressive. But you still have to make sure that you get an airtight seal with them. So if you have too much hair between your ears and the headphones, or if the arms of your glasses don't sit flush to your temple, you are going to miss out on some of the bass that these headphones can produce. They are, however, a bit less consistent than average in the treble range, which means that your positioning preference could have a noticeable impact on their treble performance. As it is with other closed-back active noise cancelling headphones, the MDR-1000X really isolates you from your environment. So their soundstage is not going to be as open and spacious as a set of loudspeakers in a room or even a pair of open-back headphones. Now let's talk about the wireless issue that I mentioned earlier. We noticed that the frequency, phase, and distortion of the MDR-1000X is significantly different when connected wirelessly as opposed to wired. As you can see here, the steep roll-off in the treble range only happens when connected wirelessly. And this roll-off is paired with a significant rise in phase error and harmonic distortion. Now, the harmonic distortion performance of the MDR-1000X is slightly below average even when used with the wire. But when used wirelessly, there can be more than 10% of harmonic distortion above 10 kHz, which is a big number. Now, the jury is still out on how much of this high-frequency roll-off, phase shift, and elevated harmonic distortion is actually audible. So we've prepared a recording for you guys so you can listen to and judge for yourself. But keep in mind that the YouTube audio is probably too compressed for you to hear all the details. So you can find the link to the uncompressed version of the recording down in the description. We have also recorded the sound of a few other popular headphones with our dummy head for you to compare against the MDR, which we're going to play now. But keep in mind that this comparison is valid only relatively and not absolutely. So if you get a pair of the Sonys and listen to the same track that we've used here, you probably are not going to hear the same thing. But this recording is valid for you to compare the sound of the Sonys against the other headphones in the video. For example, you can check to see if the Sonys have more or less bass than the Bose QC35. Now on to isolation and leakage. For these two tests, we have also prepared a recording for you to listen to and compare. In our tests, the MDR is one of the best performing noise cancelling headphones that we have measured so far, and it performs very similarly to the Bose QC35. But it seems that the Sony is slightly better at handling higher SPLs in the lower frequencies than the Bose. In terms of leakage, the MDR-1000X can get a bit leaky at higher volumes. And although they are not as quiet as the Sennheiser Momentum's 2.0, they do outperform the QC35 in the leakage department.
Now let's talk about the active features. The MDR-1000X have a great wireless range. This makes them good headphones to use around your house, especially if you have a fixed Bluetooth source like your PC or your TV. They reached about 50 feet before any major connection drops, and that's when the Bluetooth source was obstructed by walls. In direct line of sight, they had about 3 times that range. They support NFC for easy pairing with your phones. They also have the aptX and LDAC codec, but both codecs are not always available on mobile devices, so unless you have one of the Sony Xperia phones or one of the newer Walkmans, then you won't get the best audio quality out of your MDR-1000X. On the upside, they have a long battery life. We measured about 24 hours of continuous playback on a single charge. They also automatically turn off after 5 minutes if they're not connected to anything. While this is good for power saving, it can be a bit frustrating if you just need the noise cancellation while you're traveling. You can't physically disable this feature, and there's no app. It's too bad. They also took a surprisingly long time to charge. At 3.5 hours, if you don't keep these plugged in overnight, then you probably won't have any music in the morning for your daily commute. So overall, comparing the MDR-1000X to other popular headphones, if comfort is your top priority, then maybe consider the Quiet Comfort 35s. They isolate almost as well as the MDR-1000X, they're more comfortable, and they sound slightly better since they don't have those issues in the treble range. But unfortunately, you have no control over the noise cancellation, you can't turn it off, there's no aware modes, which is slightly disappointing, and they leak a lot more than the MDR-1000X. Now, if noise cancellation is not that big of an issue for you, and you really like to EQ your headphones, then the PXC550 might be a better option. With their bundled app, you can really tweak a lot of things about the 550s to make them feel unique to your listening experience. But the noise cancellation is nowhere near as good as that of the MDR-1000X. In short, if you want the best noise isolation that we've measured so far, then get the MDR-1000X. They're excellent commute and traveling headphones, and they give you enough control over the active features that you don't need a bundled app. But the sound quality tends to be a bit inconsistent, and it can get a little leaky at higher volumes. And that's pretty much it. So if you like what we do here, check out our reviews, subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.